Okay, it gives me great pleasure to call this meeting to order today on this beautiful day. And we are going to begin with a roll call. Ms. Sawyer,
Sharon Wharton,
present.
Dr. Sheila Williams, George Archuleta,
Right here.
Virginia Houston,
Present.
Pam Pereza,
Here.
Rodney Walton,
Here.
Daniel Spence.
Here.
Thank you.
And I'm going to call on Board Member Houston to read our ethics awareness statement.
Welcome to this meeting of the Elizabeth City Pastor Tank Board of Education. It is my duty to remind members of this board that it is your responsibility. Oh, my goodness.
Top. So.
I'll start over because I didn't have my mic and I've just been reminded, so. Welcome to this meeting of the Elizabeth City Pastor Tank County Board of Education. It is my duty to remind members of this board that it is your responsibility to avoid all conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest in accordance with Chapter 138A of the North Carolina General Statutes. As public servants, it is our duty to continually monitor, evaluate, and manage our personal, financial, and professional affairs in such a way as to ensure the absence of conflicts or potential conflicts. Does any member know of any conflicts of interest or potential conflicts of interest with respect to any matter coming before the board this evening? Let the record show that no conflicts exist.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. And now I'd like to move to approve the agenda for today's meeting, March 21st, 2022, as presented. And I need a second for that action
Second.
and a roll call vote.
Mr. Archuleta, the second. Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams is not present. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston,
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton,
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to move on to the business for Financial, Business, and Technology Committee. And we're going to begin with the maintenance report by my just asking. You got that report. You had a chance to take a look at it. Are there any questions or concerns for Ms. Wilkins, who is present today? Anything from anyone? Is there anything on that report that you would like to expand on, Ms. Wilkins?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, if there are no questions, then we're going to move on to the presentation on the paving projects. And this is for information only. We will not take action tonight. And that's from Ms. Wilkins and Mr. Otts.
Good evening. Originally, when we first just started discussing the Central Elementary drive-through, the conversation about an engineer came up. Mr. David Otts is the district engineer for DOT. And so I consulted with him about the Central Drive, but he also had some more information that he shared with me as far as their purchasing power. And so I'm going to let him explain that to you.
Good afternoon. Ms. Wilkins contacted me. We was about researching several parking lots for the school system, north side, Harney, northeastern, and then we also looked at Central as well. And I explained to her, she was not aware that as a governmental agency, the school system can enter into a reimbursable agreement with the Department of Transportation to have this work performed. We would also inspect it. It would be added in one of our contracts, and the school system would simply pay the department back. But the way that benefits the school system is what we've estimated is roughly 4,000 tons of asphalt for all these parking lots. And our contracts have roughly 40,000 tons of asphalt in them already for secondary roads. So we have contractors that their main business is dealing with the Department of Transportation, such as Barnhill, the Fred Smith Company, which bought out Rose Brothers and RPC contracting. So it would allow y'all to get a little bit better unit pricing, as well as we have certified roadway inspectors that are out there 24/7 anytime the contractors are working, and they would also be at your disposal. They would be doing the inspecting of it. I'm sure Ms. Wilkins doesn't have the personnel to need someone out there with a paving contractor all summer long looking after this type of work. So that's what we discussed, and, you know, we also put an estimate together for her to see how far her can go. But basically, that's, well, I guess what she was referencing with our first hour, but I'm definitely happy to answer any questions about that. Anything like that?
You said sheet, northeastern, central, and there's four.
With the original capital outlay is still budgeted. But they also do strike.
Did you say north side was in that as well? And how about, over between, Tuscaloosa County High School and ECMS?
Oh, that
piece-
road,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, babe, I'm
That's
gonna
what it is.
be visible.
What somebody say? No, go ahead.
There's somebody
We
there.
actually received quite a few complaints about us about the road going back to ECPPS. But that was the very first road we looked at.
Yeah, that road has a lot of potholes. And it has for a couple of months.
Yeah, and there's something going across the road that's, you guys been working on it. I mean, you constantly put stuff there, trying to keep it from dipping so bad.
Right.
So it's, but yeah, still something.
And you said it was 4,000 tons. You're estimating of 4,000 tons for all the projects?
4,000 tons is what we're currently estimating for all the projects, but based on the budget that I was given, I think it's scaled back. Nonetheless, we're going to work on that, but I was just, I guess, trying to show you the ratio of if the school system decided to maybe bid out roughly 1,000 tons of asphalt, whereas if you join us, we're going to be bidding out about 40,000 tons of asphalt.
No, gotcha.
So our price could come in a little bit less, because you better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we won't pay upfront, we'll pay,
But
How you
unfortunately,
fund it?
you do have to pay up. So what we would do is, once we narrow down exactly what we want to do, the department would perform an engineer's estimate. I've already done a preliminary one, but it would be much tighter, and it would be, I try to be pessimistic with it, but nonetheless, once we determine how much it costs, the school system would have to give the department that money. That way we can fund the work order. Once the job is complete, any balance left over in that account would be returned to the school system.
Gotcha.
But on the other hand, if it happened to go over, and again, that's why I try to point out that I try to be pessimistic with the estimate. If it happened to go over, we're reaching out for additional funds, but we're going to try our best to make
Keep
sure
moving.
that doesn't happen. We would much rather turn a little bit more to you, but we won't be realistic. But, you know, things happen. We redid the medical center drive for the hospital a few years ago, and in the process of building that up, we built through the storm drain. That was supposed to be roughly 2 feet deep, and it's 2 inches deep. So you never know what you're going to
Big
get.
difference.
There's plenty of surprises.
yeah, understand. Good info.
Does this include inspections on your part as well?
Yes.
Like once the work is done?
Yes, ma'am.
How often does that,
Oh, well, once the work is done,
once the work is done?
contracts usually have a 1-year warranty for defects in material.
Okay.
Ship. So we would come out and do an inspection at the 1-year point. before
Okay.
Basically, get this bond money back. But there wouldn't be any in between necessarily. But of course, any concerns you had, you could bring to our attention. They would have been provided.
Okay. And
Assuming
once
that
we
work-
establish this contract with you,
I'm sorry.
could we, if we decided we wanted to continue this relationship with our other schools, would we have to develop a new contract, or could we just continue our association with you from now on?
Well, you can continue your association with us from now on, but it would be
Okay,
but it's fairly, I hate to say informal, but it's gentlemen in our division office.
Mhm.
And so it's not a contract to take right out. It's not going to be, we wouldn't want to use something simple, redoing a little bit of striping in a small little parking lot. You're looking at, redoing the entire parking lot. Really, it's very little has been done on the part of the schools. So right now, that cost free, but we'll draft the agreement. Inspections. Now, our inspectors, their hourly rate does.
Okay.
But like I said, they'll perform 100% of the inspections. We'll make sure the contract is paid. Basically, it's still restricted for us to transfer money. We pay our contracts at minimum once a month. So you don't have to worry about that during the duration of this project, which would really probably last a good part of this.
okay, sounds good. Ms. Houston,
You
do you
answered.
have a question?
You answered
Yeah,
my
okay.
question.
All right.
Has any dollar amount been mentioned yet? Or
Ms. Wilkins and I need to talk a little bit more about that, because she has a dollar amount. I surprised her with the dollar amount. I brought it here earlier. We've only discussed this for about 2 weeks. We went out and estimated. Dave was the earliest.
Pick the mic up.
I'm sorry. So today was the earliest I could get a number. But nonetheless, we're probably going to need to find that.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
If you need a sharper pencil point, I'm sure we all have one.
Yes.
And, to make sure my numbers are realistic, we did reach out to one of the local, just ask him real quickly. Our construction costs, this was 6 months ago, and before, have gone up 27% last 3 years. I'm sure it's probably gone up at least 10%.
Yep.
Paint, for instance, like park lots, has gone up 40%.
Yeah.
So it's tough to do with that stuff right now.
It is.
With staying.
How about your materials? Are you able to get those in a ample amount of time, or are you having difficulty like everyone else?
Only thing we're currently experiencing shortages on is paint, but
Okay.
contracts, it took them a little longer to get them this year. Normally we're paid about this time of year. Haven't been able to start getting this thing. Last summer. But it should be, as far as asphalt, unfortunately, main ingredients of that is petroleum.
Right.
So the cost of it's really volatile right now, but we're not having trouble getting it.
Okay.
So,
Right. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Ms. Wilkins or Mr. Otts? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Mr. Otts, you're welcome to leave if you need to, if you like to, or you can hang around. That's totally up to you. Okay. Safe travel.
Thank you.
Safe travel.
thank you, sir.
Okay, we're going to move on to Ms. Haynes, and she's joining us tonight virtually because she is out sick. And she's going to present our budget amendments and other items. Ms. Haynes.
Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Williams, not there either. Interim Superintendent Ingram and board members, good evening. The first item for finance this evening is FBT 03 budget amendments numbers 105, 306, and 805. The budget amendment number 105 is for the State Public School Fund and shows an overall increase of $1,686,080. This brings the current budget for the state public school fund to $42,203,018.20. The largest increases are in PRCO 45 in the amount of $106,962. PRCO 71 supplemental funds for teacher compensation in the amount of $741,071. PRCO 85 literacy intervention in the amount of $96,069. And PRC 130 state textbooks in the amount of $626,909. The next amendment, budget amendment number 306, is for the federal grants fund and shows an overall increase of $582,842. This brings the current budget for the federal grants fund to $29,332,351.47. This amendment is to align the budget with actual allotment for several PRCs and establishes the initial budget for several new PRCs. And the last amendment, budget amendment number 805, is for the special revenue fund and shows an overall increase of $800 for a donation received for our EC department. Are there any questions on the amendments?
Okay, if there are no questions about any of those, she is asking for a motion to be placed, to place the budget amendments on the consent agenda for our March meeting. So may I have a motion from the floor for that, please?
I make the motion that we place FBT 03 budget amendments on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
And I need a second
Second.
and a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams is not present this evening. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston,
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Daniel Spence. Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, now we're going to move on, Rachel, to fundraisers.
All right, the next item, FBT 04, is the fundraiser list. And we would like to request the board take action on the list this evening to allow clubs and organizations the opportunity to begin as soon as possible. This is the last set of fundraisers for this school year. And next year, it's our intent to go back to twice a year submissions and approvals. Are there any questions on this evening's list? And Chair Warden, if there are no questions, we would like the board to take action.
Take action, right. So may I have a motion to take action on these fundraiser items to approve them tonight?
Make a motion that we approve the fundraising requests that have been presented today.
I'll second it.
Okay, it has been properly motioned and seconded, and now we need a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams is not present at this moment. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Daniel Spence. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on again with Ms. Haynes.
The
She
fund-
has two more reports, the rental report and the purchasing report.
Yes, ma'am, and those are for informational purposes only.
Right.
Are there any questions on either report?
Are there any questions on any of that? Okay, we have no questions. Then we're going to, thank you, Ms. Haynes. We
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being here. And we are going to move on to Mr. Lane, who is going to offer information on the summer reading project. Mr. Lane?
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Warden, board members, Dr. Ingram, and guests. I'm here to talk about FBT 07 in your board packets. It's the Title I Summer Book Program quotes and justification. As required, three quotes were obtained from three different vendors. Scholastic was the first quote, Permabound the second, and Old Coat was the third quote received. You may remember this project. We did it last year. And Scholastic Education was the vendor that we chose. It is not the cheapest quote, But we felt that from the information that we gained from parent surveys from the product last year were overwhelmingly positive, and parents indicated that they wanted the program to continue. The quality of the product is impeccable from Scholastic. They also have the social and emotional component that was developed through a partnership with Yale University, which includes a journaling activity and questions that can be used with all 5 of the books that every student in pre-K through rising 5th graders will receive for the summer. The books are pre-bundled and shipped directly to the individual schools and are ready to grab and go. Scholastic was the only company that offered that as an option. They are also the only company that offered the social and emotional learning component. Scholastic Education also owns the rights to the book selections, which will allow us to use student-led book trailers to promote the program over the summer. And now I'll entertain any questions if there are any.
Mr. Lane, I see you said the survey said the parents were, you got positive feedback from the parents and they indicated they wanted it back again. Did we notice?
Yes, sir.
Did we notice any difference in-house with our scores increasing at all after the summer reading program with our reading?
I have not looked at that, but I can go back and look to see if there is a correlation. What the parents indicated was that it was a very positive experience. They loved that the books were advanced. So, for example, if you were a student coming out of pre-K for the summer, you would receive books that were on a 1st grade reading level, and this continues as students go up. They loved that fact.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you.
Mr. Lane, any teacher feedback?
The teachers that I spoke with indicated that it was really a worthwhile project. I did not survey the teachers formally though.
No, just want to get any feedback. Thank you.
And you did say for this price, this company here were the only ones that gave the social and emotional component, correct?
Yes, sir. That is
And
correct.
and you said one other thing, correct? I forgot what the second thing was that you said.
They have the rights to the book selections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
the other companies didn't offer this.
No,
No, they did not. In essence, if the other companies were chosen, there would be permissions and additional costs that could accrue for purchasing rights to use the books in that manner.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And if there are no further questions, we were asking that this be placed on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
okay, so I need a motion from the floor to place this on the consent agenda for the March meeting.
I'll make a motion to replace FET 07, the summer reading quote, on the consent agenda for our next meeting in March.
Second.
Okay. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. We need a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams is not present at the moment. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston,
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton,
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the Policy Code Committee. Ms. Houston?
And I'll turn this part over to Mrs. Sawyer.
Excuse me.
Good evening, Chair Warden, Committee Chair Houston, Interim Superintendent Ingram, board members, and community. I come before you this evening to share policy 4231, 5021, 7263, face coverings, as required by Session Law 2021-130, Section 10. As you are aware, boards are required to revisit this policy on a monthly basis. At this time, we have no recommended changes to the face covering policy. Any questions?
I have a question, Tammy. In the first paragraph,
Mhm.
the bottom, it says that they're required only on buses. I thought we weren't doing that.
It is not. Yes, that's correct. It is not required on buses now, so we'll update that. We need to update that. Thank you for picking up on that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I've also provided several policy updates for your consideration. These policies were presented as first reads in January. Many of the policies before you include minor changes to wording, legal references, and/or cross-references. Others have required updates or recommended updates per the North Carolina School Boards Association. Staff continue to work through several policies which require a more thorough review. It is our intent to bring the remaining policy updates to you in April. Committee Chair Houston, I am requesting the policy updates provided in the packet this evening be placed on the consent agenda for approval at the regular March meeting.
I'd like to move that the policy procedures that are presented to us tonight be placed on the consent agenda for the March meeting. Do I need to read them all out?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call. Dr. Sheila Williams is not present this evening. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
We will have that updated before we come back to you next week. Thank you.
Is there anything else for Ms. Sawyer? Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move into closed session. I'm going to ask for a motion for that from the floor. Dr. Williams is not here as yet. She's been detained at work for, she's working on a big project, trying to finish that up for her professional position. So at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Houston if you would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the board go into closed session as allowed by, I'm sorry for my voice, as allowed by NC General Statute 143-318.11(6) for the purpose of considering one or more personnel matters that are confidential under NC Statute 115C 320 and as allowed by North Carolina Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board attorney regarding matters protected by the attorney-client privilege and to preserve that privilege.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we will go into closed session. Now I need a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams is not present at the moment. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston,
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton,
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
There she is.